We have some big news to discuss today as a notable MLB insider has linked the Toronto Blue Jays to a star outfielder in a bit of a surprising report. So we're going to break down who that outfielder is and exactly what the report entails. And we're also going to break down the next few weeks of games for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're looking very bleak, and three specific players on the Jays are struggling to the point that this could be extremely concerning going forward. So I'm going to break all that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? Like Gosse here, host of Jays Digest, and it is a rare off day for the Toronto Blue Jays today, and we have a lot to go over. Obviously, they had a pretty brutal loss yesterday, a fake comeback. They lost 5-4 in a game that, like we mentioned on a stream a couple of days ago, would have put them at 500, would have given them a road series win against one of the best teams in baseball, and it really would have went a long way regarding the vibes of this team heading into the new series that starts tomorrow. But they didn't win that. But we have a lot of news to discuss today that came out as the Toronto Blue Jays were linked to a very, very notable player, and there's also been some struggles. Before we get into that, though, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers. We make daily Jays videos. We're streaming 2 to 3 times a week for you guys, sometimes 4 times a week at post-game streams. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on all that. But let's start with the first topic today, which is Jon Heyman, an MLB insider, has linked the Blue Jays to a very surprising player. Since the MLB insider shockingly ties the Blue Jays to the best available outfielder at the 2024 trade deadline, goes on to say it's almost unbelievable who Jon Heyman connected with the Blue Jays, especially since there's no guarantee they'll even be buyers at the deadline. You see, MLB insider Jon Heyman claims that Toronto is one of at least 6 suitors for Chicago White Sox outfielder Luis Robert Jr., who is predicted to be one of the most sought-after players at the deadline. And it was during his live stream appearance that he basically threw out the team. Some other teams include the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Braves. So this is very interesting. And we made a video a week or so back when the White Sox, I believe it was John Morosi, who tweeted that the White Sox are going to be shopping Luis Robert and that he is going to most likely be dealt at this year's deadline. Obviously, the White Sox are one of the worst teams in baseball, so it makes all the sense in the world. But we didn't have a concrete report saying that the Jays were linked to Robert at all until yesterday when Jon Heyman dropped a bit of a bombshell news on his live stream. Now, Luis Robert Jr. is a very, very, very good player. The question is, like we discussed in our video a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, will the Jays have enough to trade for him? And do the Jays even want to be buyers at this year's deadline? They're now 2 games under 500. They have a tough schedule ahead of them. And if they want to make a big splash at the deadline, Luis Robert Jr. would be the one to do it. And again, some of the other ones in the AL include the Mariners, the Royals, and then in the NL, the Phillies make all the sense in the world. Atlanta Braves, the Dodgers, like always, and the Blue Jays were thrown in there. And again, you look at the Blue Jays farm system. You have Ricky Tiedemann. You have Elvis Martinez. You have Addison Barger. Brennan Barrier is undergoing season-ending injury, I believe, or he's injured currently. They don't have a lot of guys they could really trade that the White Sox would want aside from Tiedemann and Elvis Martinez. Now, do I think a Tiedemann and a Elvis Martinez focused package gets it done? It's possible. It depends if other teams are super interested in matching that or beating the offer that the Toronto Blue Jays give. Because, I mean, Ricky Tiedemann is the 68th or ranked prospect in baseball, and then Elvis is 54 based on Baseball America's stats. So it's like they have 2 top 100 prospects, but if you get rid of those guys, you are really banking on some internal improvement from the rest of your prospects like Arjun Namala and all these Emmanuel Bonilla, all these younger guys that you're really hoping turn into superstars. And like the article mentions, even though adding Robert, a player of his caliber at the deadline, would be a shocking turn of events, it would definitely be welcomed in Toronto. But the question is whether the Jays will be buyers. Like I just mentioned, they have a brutal schedule ahead of them, and that will determine the direction. They're currently 3 games back, and now they're 33 and 35, and they're not going to trade Bo or Vladdy. It's very unlikely they trade either of those guys. Maybe they shop Bo Bichette around, but Vladdy's here to stay. And these next couple of weeks, this next few series of games are going to be crucial regarding what their plan is. If they're under 5 games, if they're within 5 games of a wild card spot, that wild card 3 spot that got added a few years ago, then they're all in, and they're probably going to go ahead and at least stand pat, maybe make a couple minor additions. But if they think this team has a chance to compete, or they're trying to save face and Ross Atkins' desperation to move to make the playoffs and to make a run, Luis Robert Jr. would be the move to make, as there's not really many other moves out there that would put the team over the top. Now, I want you to leave in the comment section, do you think trading for Robert is enough to put the team over the top? And you can look at some of his stats. We showed these stats a week ago, and he had a low 700 OPS. He's been on a bit of a tear here, and the funny thing is, he's hitting 196, but he has 6 home runs in 15 games. He is an absolute power beast. He cranked 38 home runs last year. 2021 is unbelievable year, 68 games. He put up a 1,000 OPS almost. Like, when he's healthy, he's one of the best players and best outfielders in baseball. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. And do the Jays want to take a risk on a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy his whole career? Or do they think, hey, screw it, it's worth it? You pair him with Vladdy, you extend Vladdy and Bo. You have a trio of Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Luis Robert. You have Ricky Tiedemann coming up. You have Relvis Martinez in the, limelight as well. Now, I'm saying that, and you probably caught me, you're probably going to have to give up one of those two guys, if not both, to get Robert. So you'd really be kind of just banking on the fact that Vladdy, Bo, and Robert would be enough to get you going. And then hopefully Manoah turns it around. Like, it would be a risk, especially given his health concerns going forward for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm very, very curious to see what you all think in the comment section about this, because quite frankly, it's a risky move, but it might be a dire one for the team that is out of the playoffs right now and is looking a 3 games or so back at the time of recording. Could be 4 tonight, depending on how the results go with the Minnesota Twins and things like that. But they just made the renovations. They're supposed to be in their competing window. George Springer is not getting younger, and none of these guys are getting younger. Do they swing for the fences? Let me know down below. And again, the third in the AL East, 15 games back of a playoff spot, but 3 games back of a wild card spot. And yeah, they start a series against Cleveland on Friday, and that's going to be a big test. And then they play the Yankees after that. So I'm very curious to see what you guys think. The hitting could use a boost. It's been really bad. And Robert would do exactly that. Like, he is the guy to get if you do want to make an improvement on hitting. But I want to bring up another point, but let me know in the comments your thoughts on a Robert trade. And what would you be comfortable giving up? Leave trade packages down below, and I'll respond to some of them to see what I think. This was an interesting stat from EJ Nave. He said, Justin Turner, Kevin Kiermaier, and George Springer are 39, 34, and 34 respectively. They have now logged a combined 611 plate appearances this season with a cumulative WRC plus of 80. There is simply no excuse for this. And it might be time to start having the conversation of, Kevin Kiermaier's having a horrible season. George Springer, his fall-off has been detrimental, obviously. In 2021, he was unbelievable. 2022, he was unbelievable, but hindered by injuries. And then last year, he wasn't very good, and this year, he's even worse. Like, this is an argument for making a trade for a guy like Robert. You have to get more out of your players who are supposed to hit and the veterans. Justin Turner started off super, super hot. Now he's cooled off. Kevin Kiermaier, I still don't agree with the contract. You have Dalton Varsho, who does everything he does, but better. And then you have George Springer, arguably defense, I guess, Kevin Kiermaier, but Varsho's an elite defender. And then George Springer, who just fell off a cliff. Like, if you add Robert, you have Robert in left, you have Springer in right, you have Varsho in center, you have Davis Schneider somewhere, you have all these guys, Spencer Horwitz at second, IKF at third. Like, it's looking a lot better if you add a premier power bat into your lineup in left field. And just wanted to bring this up to show you, like, things aren't looking great. If they could turn it around, obviously the offense will look a lot better, but the veterans, the signings they've made, some of the Justin Turner, Kevin Kiermaier, those two have aged horribly, and hopefully they can turn it around soon, and maybe a trade will be what does it ultimately. But let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on this and on Jon Heyman linking the Toronto Blue Jays to Robert. And again, leave what trade packages you think the Jays could get. If you want to check out a video from yesterday, click on your screen now. We'll see you tomorrow.